What's up, RotoViz?
All right, what's up, everybody? This is probably one of the crazier things that I've dreamed up to do this draft season. But if you're tuning in, I'm getting ready to do an FFPC main event, $2,000 entry for $1 million grand prize at the same time as an FFPC Footballguys Players Championship, $350 entry for a $500,000 grand prize. We're going to draft them simultaneously. It's a solo event. I'm stocked up. I got everything that I might need. I've got water in my, there's a chance this is Blanton's mug that Ryan McDowell got me a few years ago. I got some hot tamales for my spicy picks. I've got some actual Blantons in case I make some great picks. Oh boy. And we are already off and running in the Footballguys Players Championship draft. I have the 102 in this one. And Jonathan Taylor went 101. I'm not messing around. I'm going straight to Christian McCaffrey. And let's get our screen shares set up here because I am just rolling in very hot. Joe says, good luck. Hey, Joe, I will take it, man. I don't think I'm going to need it. The only luck that I need is to not be doubled up on picks on the clock at the same time in both of these crazy things. So, yeah. So we've already got Christian McCaffrey in the Footballguys Players Championship draft, and I'm waiting for 109 in the main event. So let's wait until that pick comes off the board, and I will share both of these draft boards. Of course, if you have not drafted on the FFPC yet this year, they are one of our premier partners at RotoViz. And you can just go to myffpc.com, see all their great high stakes events, and throw your hat in the ring, man. Throw your hat in the ring. There's still a few days left until Thursday night. And what's cool about their big events, you can actually draft even after Thursday. So make sure that you check that out. Yes, I've got the comments to share the draft board. I am just trying to get everything set up here. So many different windows open. Here. So let's see which one we're sharing here. It looks like that is the FPC board there through the Eckler pick. Let's flip over. We're going to flip over here in just a second to the main event board where I'm getting ready to take a big swing here in the first round. We're going to take a big swing on Saquon Barkley. First round Saquon. All right, so let's flip over to that board here. Share that screen. Okay. So in the main event draft, drafting from the 109, you can see it went pretty chalky. I was targeting Travis Kelce in that draft there. He does go at the 108. So I'm going to take Saquon, who was my second round target. And Joe says one draft at 2 and one at 9 gives you time. Hopefully. I will probably come back up as I flip between the screens here, come back up in the main event draft first. We're already to Devontae Adams at the 111 there. And we'll be coming around the horn here. So I think this is my fourth of 5 main events this year that I'll be doing. And this is my third Footballguys Players Championship draft. So we're going to have, quite a bit of skin in these tournaments. Some good finishes by myself and the rest of Team RotoViz over the past couple of years. I'm trying to beat my performance from 2020. In 2020, I was 13th in the main event, and one of my co-owned teams with Sean Siegel also had a solo team finish, I think 33rd overall that year. Of course, that the famous 6-touchdown Christmas Day game from Alvin Kamara really driving those finishes and those events there. Let's see what's going on back over in the Footballguys Player Championship draft here. And we're back. That draft had been paused. and it is now on the 107. So we'll have to see what's going on here. Guy on the corner taking his time. Goes DeAndre Swift here in the main event. It's tough, man. It's tough. These drafts are stressful. I don't know why I had this idea to do both of these at the same time, but, you just do it. Swift and Andrews go at the corner there. Let's see here. I've got Alvin Kamara and Kyle Pitts in my queue. Let's see if those two guys survive the next two picks. We got Sleepy E and FX boys here picking. Then we'll switch back over to our Football Guys Player Championship draft board, and we'll see what's going on there. Najee Harris goes. So we've got a team, Devontae Adams and Najee Harris on the corners there. And the Derrick Henry drafter up next. Typically, I really want to dream of going with a RB start. It's just not what I like to do, but those receivers that I like have been kind of cleared out. I'm not as much on Diggs in the second round here. And I really prefer, honestly, the wide receivers that go at the back half of the second round. Joe Mixon goes. So I don't have any main event Kyle Pitts yet, and I think that's the direction I'm going to go here. So a Saquon Kyle Pitts start, that is pretty fine. Let's flip back over to our FPC draft here and see what's going on. That draft had a pause, so we're waiting. I did start Christian McCaffrey from the 102, and this one looks a little different. No Derrick Henry yet. The wide receiver's a little bit more spaced out. Devontae going a little earlier in this one than he did in the main event. Travis Kelce going a little earlier in this one than the main event. So we might have a little fun in that one. We'll flip back over to the main event board. It's going to start just streaming yellow here. I'm going to go ahead and get my queues built up. From the 2 and the 9, I should end up with, through the first 5 or 6 rounds, pretty different exposure, different cores. But then as I get into the latter stages of the single-digit rounds, my hope is to have a little bit of overlap on these teams. I really like to concentrate in these mega contests, who I'm really exposed to, because if I hit, I can have multiple teams hit in the tournament, which I love. And it also does simplify waivers and bye weeks and things like that, which, once you start playing volume in the bigger events, it does come into play there a little bit. So starting McCaffrey at 102, I'm really in a good spot here, probably to follow with a wide receiver, second and third round pick. The guys going in that range, typically I might have some access to Debo Samuel, Tyreek Hill, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins. Sometimes you'll get, Kamara or Barkley slide down there to the end of the second round. So, that would be interesting if that were to happen. I don't expect that it will. Drafts are pretty sharp here the last week or two. And then, you got to have some panic picks loaded up too. So I'll have Cortland Sutton, A.J. Brown in the queue as well. But with the CMC start, I'm really looking to probably do a hero RB build in this one. Let's flip back over to the main event, just check in on what's going on. This is one where I started Saquon and Pitts. It's really going slow through the second round here. I think Cup Kamara, that is a really interesting start out of the 105. I like that start for that drafter. We have a Debo Samuel auto pick, timeout at the 4. Aaron Jones, we got a ways to go till it gets back to us there. Oh, the waiting. If you guys got some questions, throw them in the chat here. Let's see what you guys are interested in knowing about in either of these drafts. Or it just could be questions about player takes, maybe some of your own drafts you got coming up. I'll try to get to maybe some even keeper questions or, dynasty questions. We're going to be hanging out here for 2 hours while we're building these teams. So in these longer waits, pepper me with questions. I'll do what I can to help you. I just went through my FFPC cut down process, as many of you did probably for your high stakes dynasty teams on Sunday. You could even ask me some questions about whether or not you made the right cuts. And we can go through some of that misery, depending on how many teams you have. It can always get tough. You got to cut down to the 22 roster spots in the best ball dynasty formats and the 20 the traditionals. Okay, so we're going to be up next here in the Football Guys Players Championship drafts. Let's flip back over to that board. This is the one where I started CMC, and I am on the clock here. So, I'm really hoping for a turn with two of the following 5 receivers. Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, A.J. Brown. Not necessarily in that order. We don't want to give away our picks, just in case I've got some league mates on the stream here. Running back's not a consideration for me here with Lenny and Chubb being the best available. Maybe Lenny in the third would be an option if the wide receivers don't go well for me at the turn. But I'm actually going to take Tyreek Hill here with CMC. And now we wait. What's the JT owner going to do? So he goes Deebo. So that dips into my queue. And then he actually takes Lenny. So now I've got a decision to make. I like Cortland Sutton. I like A.J. Brown. I like T. Higgins here. Man, it is very tough. I think Sutton would be a little bit of a swerve versus ADP, which is always interesting in the big contests. You're trying to get some unique builds once you get through to the playoffs. A.J. Brown with Jalen Hurts. Jalen's one of my favorite players in the NFL. And I think it's just too good to pass up there. And so that's going to be, where I go. We're going to have CMC, Tyreek Hill, and A.J. Brown to start. Let's go. I'm pumped. That's actually going to get a sip of the actual blends. We're not going water after that one. Oh, looks like we were split in the chat. Joe Saviano wanted me to take Sutton, and Chief Matt said AJ. So Chief Matt wins that round. We're going to have to flip back over. It's crazy town. I'm telling you, man. We're going to have to go back over to the main event. And I'm on the clock. So let's see what we've got here. I started Saquon Barkley and Kyle Pitts. I've got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Travis Etienne. We need some wide receivers here. And I want to swing big. And I'm going to go Jalen Waddle, actually. I'm going to go Jalen Waddle. I like kind of having opposite exposure to the Miami wide receiver core in these 2 drafts today. That'll make it fun when I'm going back and looking. And, with those Chargers pass catchers, it's just going to be so tough week to week with also Eckler being involved there. I think Gerald Everett and Josh Palmer are going to make some noise. I'm just worried a little bit about the touchdown distribution, and I think it's going to be a little bit more funneled in Miami. So I haven't been on Keenan and Dubs quite as much as I might have thought. 2 wide receivers on new teams there is what Chief Matt's comment. I'm not sure what he's referring to there. Yeah, with Tyreek Hill and A.J. Brown there. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, going back over to the Football Guys Players Championship draft. Good comment. Yeah, that is interesting. Over the years we've talked about the free agency kind of stunted year one, but it's not always been the case. Robert Woods switches teams, Stephon Diggs switches teams, and so we've had some success stories. I do like that both of these players switching teams are still prime age or younger. We're not getting that kind of third contract wide receiver on the new squad, which is to me feels okay. I think A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill are just objectively amongst the most talented players in the NFL, let alone at the wide receiver position. So let's see what we're going to have here. We're obviously going to be up next again in the main event, being from the 109. So I've got Barkley, Pitts, and Waddle. We're really going to want to go wide receiver again, if possible. Let's just see what's going to get back to us. Another team with a similar construction at the 112. What do you guys think? Do you like my construction, my players in this construction, or the 112 better? I've got Saquon, Pitts, and Waddle. He's got Swift, Andrews, and Allen. Which one do you like better? Which one do you like better? This is unique. I don't think I've started a draft in the main event or an FPC event. I don't think I've started with the wide receiver, tight end, running back in the first 3 rounds yet. Oh, Joe's calling for a stack later on. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I am definitely going to take a swing on a wide receiver here. We're just going to have to see which one it's going to be. We'll just check in here real quick on this FPC draft. Yeah, we're nowhere near being back up yet. What you going to do, FX boys? I mean, I think I know who he's going to take based off of this start, but I don't want to say the name just in case a player slides to me. I got to wait 30 seconds to tell you guys. Oh, Joe. Joe says he likes Team 9. You're just pandering to the host, man, but I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. We'll take compliments all day. 2 seconds. Oh, and FX Boys goes with the high T build. Look at all those rushing touchdowns. Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Josh Allen, Ezekiel Elliott. No wide receivers yet. The player I wanted to take a big swing on for this main event draft actually was Gabe Davis. And I would have thought that'd be intuitive for the Josh Allen drafter to pair him up, but he takes a pass. So I'm going to go with a pair of really young wide receivers, Pitts and Barkley in this draft. And I'm going to go Gabe Davis here. So let's get that updated draft board. Then we'll flip back over to our FPC draft and check in here. But just, yeah, Big Mike, Chief Matt. Hey, you won the last one, man. You won the last one in the other draft. You're not going to win this one. I'm not going to take Big Mike there. It's just not going to happen. Big Mike goes to team number 8, the pick after. So, relative value versus ADP there, but I'm just totally swinging for the fences. I do think that Buffalo's pass catching core should be a little bit more concentrated in terms of the target market share and the touchdowns actually versus what we will see in Los Angeles. And so while I would admit that based off of career production to date, Williams is a little bit of a safer bet, I'm reaching for the stars here. And I think Gabe Davis has a higher ceiling than Big Mike, who I did learn earlier today from a private DM, is nicknamed Big Horse in the Los Angeles Chargers locker room. So take that for what you will. We've got Team 10 with the geriatric RB room. Yeah, I don't like the odds of all 3 of those backs, Henry, Mixon, and Zeke, making it through the season. And it's just not how I would do it. Let's flip back over to the other draft, though, and see where we're at. We have not even rounded the 3rd round yet. So I've got almost a full round here. Lots of wide receivers. Man, what a busy round 3. Looks like this draft was a little higher on Big Mike and Gabe. We saw them go in the 4th round and the main event. They go a little earlier in this FPC. So in this build, I'm really looking hero RB. I'm probably going to target at least 2 more wide receivers in the next 4 rounds. Probably going to be striking early QB. Would like to be elite there. And I don't want to be among the last to draft my tight end here for sure. I'm not going to be able to get one of those elite guys if you draw the line after Pitts. But I would be interested in the next tight end tier, perhaps. So I could see maybe through the end of round 7 having something like a 1-1-4-1 construction. So we'll just have to see how that comes to pass. But I'm really liking this squad so far. Back over in the main event, Darren Waller and George Kittle go in round 4. That's, we're cutting into that next tight end tier here. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Deontay Johnson. Love those back-to-back picks. I think both those guys are pretty good values. I've been seeing both of those guys slip into the 5th round over the last week or so, though. There's been a little bit of counter ARSB fantasy sentiment over the last week or so. Some even from within our own team. Maybe more so from a dynasty perspective, just from Jameson Williams being there and TJ Hawkinson. But with Deontay, it's the shoulder. People kind of driving his price down. Also thinking a little bit more about that quarterback room. But, Dave and I have talked about this so much at this point. But if you're a live streamer and you're not a podcast listener, the thought on the Pittsburgh Steelers is that Big Ben, he was not helping those receivers at all. And so, I think Trubisky or Pickett, either one would represent, an upgrade over the course of the long season. I don't know why we would be super worried about Deontay here. Flipping back over to the FPC, checking in there. I'm now 4 picks away. So let's start thinking about, what we're going to do here in this draft. We're looking for some wide receivers, and I showed you what was happening over in the main event draft. Some of those wide receivers are still available here. So we're going to load them up. We're not going to talk about them. We're going to load them up. I would love to get a couple of them. Not really looking at any of the backs, the backs that are available here. Breece Hall is available. AJ Dillon's available. David Montgomery. We're not really looking there. Patrick Mahomes is available. We're not really looking there. But there are a handful of wide receivers that are pretty exciting. What do you guys think? Why don't you put it in the chat? Who do you think's on my board right here at the 4-11? Who am I considering? Oh, and actually back-to-back, Deontay and ARSB go off the board. They were in my queue, so I'm getting cleared out a little bit. Yeah, Joe, you're right. Deontay was in the queue, but he goes there. And so, we're going to have to go a different direction for my third receiver with Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown already in tow. And we're going to get some alignment here. This is what I was worried about. These drafts go at different paces. I could end up being on the clock in both drafts at the same time, guys. Yeah, Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's a name for sure. Let's see. F1, Terry McLaurin is a name. Okay, we're on the clock. TJ Hawkinson goes. Man, it just rained purple in this 4th round, so we're not going to be looking at that position. We've got Allen Robinson. We've got Juju Smith-Schuster. When I think about the upside in these offenses and what these teams could do, and also just thinking about target distribution too. I'm actually going to go Allen Robinson here. I know we've got the questions about Stafford. I know we've also had multiple people say McLaurin in the chat. I will take the wide receiver 2 on the Los Angeles Rams versus, the 1A for the Commanders with Carson Wentz. We're going to go Allen Robinson there. We're just targeting these elite offenses. We're going to have to flip back over quickly. It's going quick. We're back in the main event. I'm up in 1 pick. We started Saquon, Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, Gabe Davis, and I'm back on the clock here. We need to swing for some upside at wide receiver. The 2 guys that I'm really looking at here are Juju Smith-Schuster and DK Metcalf. I'm going to target the elite offense and go with Juju. Let's take a big swing here with Juju. And we got to flip right back over again because I'm back on the clock. I'm back on the clock in the main event. This is crazy. What's happening here? So I got A-Rob. I got 40 seconds left. Do I want to double up on Juju? Do I want to take Hollywood? Because that's what I'm really looking at. Hollywood's just a player that I love so much. And he's got that rekindled relationship there with Kyler Murray. Looking a little bit further down, they're still calling for F1. F1 win at the corner. Why do you guys like Terry McLaurin so much here? I don't see it. I'm going to take Marquise Brown on this one. Big play Hollywood. So in the main event, I've started from the 102, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Allen Robinson, Marquise Brown. Wide receivers from elite offenses, stacking them up with, a potential overall number 1 player in fantasy in Christian McCaffrey. I'm liking this build. This is my comfort level, this hero RB build from the early phases of the draft board. Last year was McLaurin's floor, is what Chief Matt says. Now, that's interesting. I think, in McLaurin's seasons, the last 2 seasons really were basically the same. And he's endured so much turnover at quarterback. He's had coaching regime changes. Listen, I'm an Ohio State guy, man. I'm a McLaurin apologist for sure, but I don't know that he's that much better than Jahan Dotson. Yeah, and you're right. The 102 is the football guys. I'm going to mix it up the rest of the show, man. We'll get it right at the end. ML, we'll get it right at the end. You're just going to have to go easy on me because I've got 19 windows open on my screen here. But yeah, back to the Commanders. Carson Wentz coming in. I think that his preference to throw vertical does benefit Terry, but I also think, Dotson is just so much better than any number 2 that McLaurin's fought for those types of targets with. And so I don't know necessarily that last year's really actually his floor. But even if it is, I'm not sure that his ceiling looks quite the same as it did in the offseason before we know who the quarterback was going to be. We could have dreamed bigger than Carson Wentz at one point, right? And we certainly could have ended up with different situations, not just a quarterback, but also at wide receiver. Maybe if they had drafted a bigger body or more of a slot guy, but they really drafted a player with a lot of overlapping skills to McLaurin. So I think that's going to be interesting, probably good for the Commanders. But I'm not so sure that I like the difference in draft capital between McLaurin and Dotson. I think by the end of the year, they're going to be, pretty similar types of players. So let's go back over to the main event where, as ML said, I'm drafting from the 109, and I'm going to be back up in 3 picks here. So after starting running back and tight end, waiting until the 3rd round for a wide receiver, I started at that position, Jalen Waddle, Gabe Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster. What are we going to have available to us here at the 604? Now, there's a player with a lot of touchdown upside that I like here. There is a player. DK Metcalf was the player that I was talking about. Don't really want to target that offense necessarily, but DK in the 6th, I just think he's going to take the attention away really from one of my all-time favorites, Tyler Lockett. I think it's going to look different this year. So on this team, I'm looking for potentially a running back that slid, a tight end I do not need. So I really would prefer to stay in the wide receiver room here. I want to go somewhere with a little bit more of a defined role. And this is not a big time Team RotoViz pick. This is not a player that will probably get much applause from a lot of my co-owners, but I'm taking a swing on a similar type of player to Juju in terms of what he could do with the touchdown rate and being number 2 in a high passing volume offense. We're going to go Adam Thielen here. So I've got the 2 players in Waddle and Davis who were looking to take a step forward to totally, just elite positions in the NFL and from a fantasy perspective. And then Juju and Adam Thielen, I think I could get 20 touchdowns out of that duo. And I really like O'Connell just bringing this more wide open offense into Minnesota. So we'll have to see. I'm going to have a lot of wide receivers on this team to shuffle through and find that right combination to start, with Barkley and Pitts. I'm going to have a break in this main event for a while. So let's flip back over to the FPC and see what's happening. We're starting to get into, oh, wow. We actually are into the next tier of tight ends. We've gone into Hawkinson and Goddard really early in this draft. And we're starting to see some more quarterbacks go with Justin Herbert there. With this squad, I'm really liking this hero RB setup so far. So I'm going to be a little bit more flexible versus structure and just really looking for that best overall player in round 6. I'm going to be open to a sliding running back. I'm going to be open to, if I can get one of the mobile quarterbacks, here potentially maybe at the 702 would be pretty intriguing. Let's see what's available to me here. Let's see what's available to me here at the tight end position as well that's left over in this one. Oh, Red Supremes. Multi-tabling the main is such an alpha move, Connor. Yeah, you're right. Hey, Connor, I appreciate it, man. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I haven't made a misclick yet. Everyone's keeping me straight. But I'm going to need some help. I guarantee, like in round 11, I'm going to be on the clock in 2, and you guys are going to bail me out. It's going to happen. Red Supreme says, is this PPR? It is PPR, Red, but it's also tight end premium. So this is, pretty different. If you're somebody who's been really hammering the underdog platform in particular, it's a lot different in terms of what what you're going to be looking at there. That's half PPR with no premium for the tight end. And FFPC, we're talking full PPR plus a half point premium additional for the tight ends. And of course, neither one of these are best ball squads. I'm gonna have to manage these leagues. And so when you think about what you can do at the running back position, particularly in a hero or zero RB build, you can stack up some of those guys and wait to see, who emerges. The waiver wire also comes into play. So this is a different animal. This is fantasy with all the complexity added in for sure. So let's see what's going on here. I'm going to be up in 4 picks. This is the FPC draft from the 102. 3 picks. So we see Elijah Mitchell go. We see Darnell Mooney go just now. And Bird Gang is on the clock. So Rashad Bateman's going to be available. I've got Mahomes and Lamar Jackson available, as well as Jalen Hurts. Man, that's a pretty exciting list of players. I think I'm going to get one of them to slide to me here. Let's load them up. Let's load them up. And we'll see what happens. Just going to take a peek in. 12th pick guy being toxic, LOL. Yeah, I mean, in this format, actually, with Andrews and Pitts there, I think that's what you're probably referring to, Big Red. You see it with the tight end premium. I don't know. I've yet to see that really work out for people, but, you see it. You see it. Let's get back. We're going to refresh our draft room here. I'm gonna have to click onto the phone here because it looks like something has stalled. You got to have your phone ready. You got to have your phone ready just in case. So I'm looking at my Footballguys Players Championship. Oh, and the draft is paused. The draft is paused, so we are okay, gang. We're okay. Joe says Hurts. Yeah. I mean, it's tempting, man. You got AJB on the squad. You got AJB on the squad. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. You do have a handful of quarterbacks that are attractive here at the 6-7 turn with the build that I've gone for. Yeah, and Connor really kind of getting in to what I was talking about. If you go tight end round 1 and 2, there's just no room for error. You're going to have a lot of health. You're going to have to hit on the wide receivers that you've waited to take. And, your running backs, you're just going to have to really run pure there. Now, that being said, if you could do Kelsey plus Pitts in particular, just because I think of what Pitts could do volume-wise versus a player like Andrews, Kelsey plus Pitts, I think, in a year like 2022 could be pretty lethal. I just am not seeing people have that opportunity in the tight end premium format. And for those of you not aware, I mean, Connor O'Driscoll here, whose comment is on the screen, he's FFPC royalty. He writes for RotoViz. He won 100K in the best ball tournament last year. I mean, he took the whole thing down. So that's, Okay, so I'm up next. Oh, I'm going to have to switch back over to the main event team. So let's go. The other draft is still paused. Okay, from the 109, we've got the 114 build. Oh boy. I don't even want to say it. So I'm not. But we got 33 seconds to get one of my biggest brand name guys of the draft season here. I just don't want to jinx it. How are we looking? You got to make a pick. You got 17 seconds, man. Don't time out. And I might be on the clock simultaneously in these two. Hey, oh boy, there we go. Okay, we're going to take him real quick. We're going to get Allen Lazard as my wide receiver 5 here. So let's quickly get back over to the other draft and reload. Team Bird Gang takes Elijah Moore. Okay, so we're just marching along. Are we paused again? What is happening? Let's just double check on the phone. It's paused again. We're having some problems in this draft here, guys. I don't know what's going on. Somebody's having some connection problems. It's okay. It happens. Commissioner assistance requested by Bird Gang. Okay, so maybe he didn't want to make that Elijah Moore pick. You know, I got to say, though, one thing that I do appreciate about the FFPC, the commissioner service there, you know, they really white glove it for you. If you've been looking for a place to play where, you know, you're putting big money in these drafts, guys. I mean, $350. This is a big investment. $2,000. This is a huge investment. You know, you don't want something silly like losing service or your Wi-Fi going down or, you know, something going on to wreck your draft when you've put all this money in. And they actually give you numbers you can text. You can directly text the commissioner who's running these drafts and let them know if something is going on. And I just think that's next level. So appreciate all of the attention that the FFPC puts into their product for these, you know, big time, prime time drafts. We are still paused, folks, in the FPC. I might be back up in the main again before that draft restarts. So let's flip back over to that one because that's going to be more interesting than looking at this stalled board. Okay, so after waiting until round 3 to draft a wide receiver with this squad, I've now got 5 guys with, I think, just tons of upside. I mean, Waddle had one of the best rookie wide receiver seasons in recent memory, and then 4 guys that just have such elite touchdown upside to follow. You know, I think I've got a chance at backdooring, you know, maybe 5 top 20 wide receivers there. Realistically, probably 3 of those guys hit. You know, 2 of them become a little bit more frustrating, but that's okay. That's okay. That's why we're attacking the position through volume, especially after waiting until round 3. But now I've got a little bit of flexibility with what I do here moving forward. So Google Me Dog takes Amari Cooper at the corner with CEH. I'm just 2 picks away from making the next pick. And, you know, I'm starting to think about that second running back. I'm starting to think about a quarterback. And there's also still some other wide receivers here that are pretty interesting that I might want to protect myself with because of waiting until round 3, because it dries up. I mean, once it goes dry, it goes dry. Connor will tell you, any RotoViz guy will tell you, wide receiver is not as deep as you think. All these people that tell you that wide receiver is deep, it's deep through the middle tiers, but man, you just can't find the replacement level production after injuries occur. You can't find the replacement level production on the waiver wire at that position. It just doesn't exist. You can find it at the other positions. Okay, so I've got to choose here between another running back target or just another wide receiver, and I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk. It's too good of a value, and then I'm just done at that position for a while. I go Brandon Ayuk. We've got to quickly flip back over to the other board because I'm on the clock. It is rolling. It's rolling. Okay, I've got CMC, Tyreek, AJ Brown, Allen Robinson, Marquise Brown from the 102 in the FPC. I want to take a quarterback here. I don't care if I stack AJB with Jalen Hurts here. I don't. And I think there's a wide receiver that's too good to pass up here. So I'm going to take that player, and then I've got a chance to stack one of 2 ways. This is next level this deep into the draft, guys. I'm going to take Rashad Bateman. Unless this guy double taps Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts at the corner, I'm going to stack that wide receiver either way. So I can't believe that I have this clear of thinking going back and forth between the windows, but it's happening. So we're going to toss in the elite Konami code running back either way with Lamar or Jalen Hurts. Let's see what the 101 does. Let's see what the 101 does. And then I got to get some comments in the chat because you guys have been raining fire in there. I appreciate it. Keep it coming. We got 2 hours to fill in this crazy schizophrenic exercise, but we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. Zach Ertz goes. That's a gift to me. Zach Ertz goes. Maybe he's going to take Kyler there and get his own little stack going. That's what I would do if I was him. That's the only way to rescue a Zach Ertz pick this early in the draft, in my opinion. What do you got, Alit? 14. What do you got? He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He takes Christian Kirk. He had to bail himself out after waiting. So what do you guys think, man? It is tough. Lamar Jackson versus Jalen Hurts. You know, I actually think as much as I like Jalen Hurts, I want to go Lamar. I just think that Lamar presents a better opportunity, especially with the issues they're having at running back. Doesn't it feel like a Lamar 1,000-yard rushing year again? Doesn't it feel like it? To me, it does. And I don't have much Lamar in these big events. I do have some Hurts. I'm going Lamar Jackson, baby. Let's go Lamar freaking Jackson. Okay, so I've got from the 102 in the FPC, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman, and Lamar Jackson. I love this start. I love it. I love it. We are not near being on the clock in the main, so we got a chance to come back to some comments here. We got a chance to come back to some comments. Okay, I was talking about deep at wide receiver, and Connor chimes in. Again, Connor, this is a name you want to know in the industry, Connor O'Driscoll, and you want to listen when he is talking. He says it's deep, and so you have to play against a team that has 4 top 12 wide receivers. Yeah, it's rough, man. It is rough, and you want the variance that position brings. You got to have the eliteness, man. You got to have those guys that can score 2 touchdowns from that position. You got to have guys that can command 12 to 15 targets in a must-win spot for their team, and that's what you want. ML says, let's flip over to the other draft board because we want to make sure that we can think about what he's referring to. So this is back over on the main event squad where I took Brandon Ayuk in the 8th round. Are you kidding me? At wide receiver 42. ML says, Ayuk an absolute steal there. I was going to mention his name thinking he was who you wanted previously, and he went Lazard, didn't want to jinx it. I appreciate that. We're not going to jinx it. Connor talking back about the FPC. I go with the absolute stunner move, giving myself optionality at the 702. I had A.J. Brown at 302. I go Rashad Bateman at 611. Give myself a chance to stack either one of those receivers at the 702 with either Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts. They actually both get back to me. And I take Lamar Jackson there with Bateman at the 6-7 turn. It's beautiful. Evan says, fire start. You know what, Evan? I think it's a fire start in both of them, man. So I don't even know which draft you're referring to, but this couldn't be going better. Evan says Lamar. So I think he's really dialed into that FPC draft. Ryan Turner says 6 start. Appreciate it, bro. Joe Saviano, win-win for you. Absolutely. Ryan Turner says, Lamar had the greatest fantasy season ever when they had Hurts. Ran lots and lots. Looks like the same recipe with them drafting a center, 2 tight ends, and trading Hollywood. Boom. I love that. That is a great comment, man. You've got Isaiah Likely, the later round tight end. They actually took multiple tight ends in this year's draft, very similar to back in the year where they did it with Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews. And similar to that year, it's the tight end drafted later who looks like he's emerging as a real weapon. I'm excited for Baltimore this year. I think they're going to be hungry. Last year did not go well for them. And they remain one of just the most talented teams in the NFL, and they have their own unique thing going. I think that team's going to come out angry, looking for something to prove. Famous Jay, do you believe in Dameon Pierce? I actually do. I do believe in Dameon Pierce. Let's get back to that in just a minute because I'm going to be up in the main event. This is the one where I'm drafting from the 9 hole, and I'm in the 9th round. I've got 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 6 awesome wide receivers. So I got to go back. I'm going to start building out some of these other positions now. So I'm looking at, of course, quarterback. I'm looking at running back. I want to get into some of my 0 RB targets here. And there's a couple that I like. I think the one that I like the most in terms of week-to-week role here to get going. And this is a guy who was in Sean Siegel's top 5 0 RB candidates countdown. It's a guy that's fallen a little bit behind one of his teammates, and I'm looking to see quickly. Yeah, his teammate went a couple of rounds earlier, and I'm just going to go with the other direction. I'm going to go Damian Harris here. Damian Harris, dark horse to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns this season. We will see. Bill Belichick treating both of these guys as 3 downers. I think they're going to be, 1A, 1B committee with no concentration of the 3rd down role. I think both of these guys are better options than Ty Montgomery for that pass receiving work out of the backfield. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm going to come back with some of these other targets in rounds 10 and 11, as well as look at a sliding quarterback value. We will flip back over just to make sure we're not going to pick again in the FPC. We're not. We're about 7-8 picks away. So let's keep it here on this main event board. Okay, I had started to answer the question around Dameon Pierce. I do believe in Dameon Pierce in draft prospect season. So before the NFL draft, I called Dameon Pierce. I guess it's not calling him something. I referred to him somewhere along the lines of, if there is an Alvin Kamara in this year's draft, basically a player who was grossly misused in college and will pop in the NFL, I said it would be Dameon Pierce. When you look at his big play rates, when you look at his touchdown rates, it was just kind of out of line with his role, and it didn't really make any sense. And it doesn't surprise me that after going to Houston with the putrid running back room that they have, that he's really, jumped out there. And so I do believe in Dameon Pierce from a dynasty perspective. I think anyone who drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round of the rookie drafts, way back in May, way back in April. Yeah, I mean, you made some hay there, you get offered in next year's early first, you got to take it. You can cash out before he even plays it down. DV Severe, do you have a league that I'm in that you can join? I don't right now. It's too close to the season, but I do love playing with the community. I mean, I play in lots of public FFPC leagues, man. I do. It's fun. Okay, we're going to be on the clock again. I got to hone in. I got to get ready to go. So we're back up in the main event. We've got some other running backs that we're going to be looking at here in this range. There's a quarterback too that I think is just maybe a step above some of the other guys that are available in this range. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Terrific Tom, 45-year-old Terrific Tom feels like, man, he feels like some icing for this team. But I also am really tempted on some of my 0 RB targets. Now, Kenneth Walker goes there a couple picks earlier. He is somebody that I was considering. He was actually Sean Siegel's 101, or number 1 overall 0 RB candidate this year, by the way. Michael Gallup goes, Team 10, trying to rescue that build with some discount wide receivers there. I think Gallup makes some sense for that squad. So I'm really between Tom Brady, Melvin Gordon, Darrell Henderson here on this squad. To go with Saquon and Damian Harris. So I'm looking for a running back I can rotate with Damian if he ends up losing that job. Melvin is very attractive. And if I look at the quarterbacks that are available a little bit later, I think I can get some guys that can approximate what Tom might do this late in his career. So I'm actually going to go Melvin Gordon here. I'm going to go Melvin Gordon. And Melvin, I think, is going to be really a nuisance this year. I think he's going to do a lot of the things that he's done in the past couple years. Let's flip back over. Man, it is coming hot. We got to go back over to the FPC because I'm going to be up again. Just to remind you what I did in the 6th and 7th round. We had the Rashad Bateman, Lamar Jackson turn there. And we're going to add some more talent to this team. So I'm starting to think about my RB2. I've got a lot of really attractive targets here. I still would like to get into the tight end position, but I think we're a ways away from being able to draft any players that make sense there. Cole Kmet, Dawson Knox, Pat Freiermuth going really early. I just have no interest in reaching, in an egregious manner at the position here. So we're just going to build out strength at other positions, and we're going to go with some of our sleeper picks at the position. Hopefully one of them will hit. So I've got CMC. Kareem Hunt goes there. And so you're really looking at a lot of the same, types of players. If I go back over to my other draft board, I took Damian Harris in the 9th. He's looking pretty good here in the 8th to go with CMC. It gives me a little bit of a tie-in between the two teams. You've also got Cordero Patterson, Devin Singletary, Miles Sanders. There's some other quarterbacks here, that I don't mind. I'm actually going to just double up. I'm going to go a half a round earlier on Damian Harris in this league than I did on the other. And we'll see what comes back around in the 9th. So what do you think? You guys on Damian Harris at all? We got some other questions. Oh boy. I've got lots of other comments that I can get to. So we'll get to those here in a minute. I want to stay focused, guys. I got to stay dialed in. I'm going to have this other pick here to make at the 9:02 here in a second. Okay, Chris Olave goes at the corner, followed by Tom Brady for the team with Jonathan Taylor. You get the Brady Fournette thing going. That's pretty interesting. You know, Fournette does get the target share there. Okay, so, you know, I've really got ultimate flexibility. I'm getting into my filters here on tight end. It's just still really early for any of these guys. I'm just going to be patient. I'm pretty good at spotting these later tight end values. Was able to be heavy on Dalton Schultz in this event in 2020. And I think I've got a couple guys that fit that profile for me this year. So I'm just going to be patient. I'm looking at the wide receiver position. Nobody is really jumping out as a must draft in round 9 for me. There is one name if there's not a running back that I like. You know, I think Kenneth Walker belongs on this squad. Let's take the big swing. I missed him in the other one. We're going to take Kenneth Walker. I take him in front of Cordero Patterson, Devin Singletary. I think CPAT's ceiling is just a little bit lower than it was last year due to the other talent added in Atlanta. Devin Singletary and the three-headed monster, if you include Josh Allen as one of those monsters. Miles Sanders is just not going to be on any of my teams this year. And I had Melvin Gordon in the other draft today. Didn't want to go with the Damian Harris, Melvin Gordon stack in both of these. And I also think there's a non-zero chance Melvin could come back to me in the 10th in this one. So we'll see. Let's go back to the other board and make sure that I'm not going to be on the clock. And if I'm not, I'll get back to some other questions. I'm going to have a couple minutes here because we're just at the 11:03 and I won't be up till the 11:09. So we talked about Dameon Pierce. DV Severe asked if he could join one of my leagues. I do play in FFPC public high stakes leagues. You can join any one of those. I do tweet them out from time to time. So next year when I'm doing a dynasty startup, DV, if you play dynasty, you will certainly have the opportunity to get in. I do have some private invite only leagues that I'm in. I am sorry, you cannot join those. Famous J, more players needed in FPC at 9/6 at 11 a.m. He's recruiting. If you think these drafts are fun, these ones that I'm doing right now, and you want to get in on the action, check it out. Famous J needs some people to compete with. September 6th, 11 a.m. myffpc.com. Click the lobby. I don't have time to get to that one just yet. Dameon Pierce and Dynasty. People curious about Dameon Pierce. Sold him in a future first for Brees. We'll just have to see what happens with that future first. If your team's stacked and you're going to be drafting at the end of the draft, you know, I do think Brees Hall is a superior prospect for sure. And I have pretty high hopes for what he's going to do in the NFL. You probably paid every penny of the going rate, if not maybe even overpaid a little bit for Brees there, based off of how much value Pierce has accrued in the past couple weeks. But I don't hate it. I mean, I think you got the better player. Evan's got some player comments for these drafts that I've been in so far. And I don't want to say any of them yet because I've got a pick coming up here. So from the 109 in the main event, I'm going to be up in 2 picks. I'm going to be up in 1 pick. Alexander Madison goes. I do not have a quarterback on this team yet. There are a couple quarterbacks that are attractive to me here in round 11. Now, quarterbacks slide a little bit more in this format than they do in underdog. And that's why I'm going to have a lot of options here in terms of being able to stack with the wide receivers that I've drafted here. I'm also not opposed to going back to the wide receiver position again or the running back position. So we're going to thumb through the depths and see what's available. Wide receiver or running back doesn't really make sense for me yet. There is a guy in round 12 that I would be pretty pumped to get, but I don't think I need to take him in round 11. So we'll see what happens there. I've got him in my queue. I'm not going to show you what that looks like at the moment. So wide receiver, I'm on the clock here. Nico Collins goes, pick before me. I'm 6 deep with guys that I really love. You know, Romeo Dubes is here. Julio Jones is here. I'm very exposed to Julio across my portfolio. Don't have a lot of Romeo Dobbs, rather. And I already have Allen Lazard on this team. I have seen Sean and Calm, I think it was, stacked Lazard and Dobbs in a draft earlier, just to have access to both of them, which I think is pretty, interesting. Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers are the guys here that make sense for this team. And I'm going to go with Rodgers. I'm going to go with Rodgers here and just lock that up. And then I think I can get back to a running back in the 12th round that I'm pretty excited about. So stacking, Rodgers there with Lazard gives me that week to week upside at the position. And I'll probably come back and draft a second quarterback in this one. Not everyone always drafts 2 quarterbacks in the main. I like to do it. I just like to know what I'm dealing with and not have to waste my fab at the position. I really like to reserve my fab for the kicker defense dance that I'm doing every week there typically, because I'm not going to swing early on those positions because it's very difficult to project year to year. And obviously also for the, the running back position. You have to spin big, when those guys emerge. Okay. Let's check in on the FPC draft. I am not going to be drafting for a while there. That is okay. So we'll stay focused here on this main. Famous J says, people are sleeping on Breece Hall. Hall would be dominating by the end of the year with the Jets' easier schedule. I don't disagree, man. I love Breece Hall. And Evan says, Team 7 doubling up. Coward. See, that's the thing that I don't necessarily love. Doubling up in round 9, 10 with Prescott and Brady in non-best ball. Like best ball, I love that. That's 2 quarterbacks in the window, man. Here, you're going to be streaming guys that are that elite. I don't know that makes a lot of sense. I think I'd like to come back. I'm going to take another swing at the running back position here, and I'll consider another quarterback potentially in round 13 or 14 on this squad. So Isaiah Pacheco goes, Khalil Herbert goes at the 11-12. So we're going to have to wait and see what comes back to me. I'm going to be up next. Russell Gage goes at the corner. Julio Jones then goes. So FX boys, our high T squad here from the beginning of the draft goes. And, oh boy, very high T move. Wait till you see who came off the board. The Buffalo defense comes off the board there. Super high T, man. Buffalo could have a good defense, though. It really could. So this is where I'm just throwing ADP out the window. I don't care that James Robinson has a higher ADP. I don't care about that. Going for the big swing here. I think this guy, if he could stay healthy, which is always a question with him, but I just think that given what Miami's going to do on offense, it's just so attractive to me. If Chase Edmonds were to go down, this guy's an auto start for sure. And I think he's going to have a bigger than anticipated role from week 1. We're going to Raheem must start when he starts. So I really like this. I like this trio of backs that I can cycle in with Saquon Barkley. Man, I just feel I can go any direction now. I think I smashed the first 12 rounds. Smash the first 12 rounds in this main event. What do you guys think? Give me some feedback. A, B, C, D, or F. Give me a grade. I can take it. You can be real. Saquon Barkley, Kyle Pitts for the first 2 rounds. Jalen Waddle, Gabe Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, Adam Thielen, Allen Lazard, and Brandon Ayuk. 6 wide receivers in a row. Just pissing yellow after the Saquon and Kyle Pitts start. And then I shore up the running back position, giving myself some bye week coverage, giving myself some access to some other backs with Damian Harris, Melvin Gordon, and Raheem Mostert in 3 out of 4 rounds, and sandwiching Aaron Rodgers in there. Let me know what you think. That's the main event squad. We'll go back over to the FPC while we're waiting on the feedback. And in the FPC, oh boy, I'm going to be up next. Do you guys remember who I said might get back around to me in round 10? Because that player, I think, is going to get back around to me. I think it's going to happen. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Man, when you've drafted as much as I have this year, you can kind of just predict what's going to happen. I mean, I'm 400 drafts deep this year, 400. And structurally, Husker Nation, basically has to go wide receiver here. So the back that I was talking about, I think is going to slide to me. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he'll veer. What you going to do, Husker? You got 20 seconds, man. Maybe he's live streaming too. I've been milking the clock when I've been on the clock just to tell you guys what I'm thinking about strategically. Got to keep it interesting. So this squad, I've got the 5 wide receivers. I love the 5 wide receivers with Lamar Jackson. Oh, and he goes Alberto. He pulls the Alberto trigger there, doubling up on Hawkinson. I'm just going to oh man. I think I'm just going to take Melvin Gordon on this team too. Was thinking about him back at 8-11. Get him at 10-11. I mean, come on. That's beautiful. And I might draft one more running back here and just be done and then attack the tight end position through volume. We'll see. I do need to get back over to the main event and check in. I just want to make sure. I'm starting to lose track of where I'm at in these 2 drafts. The main event. Oh, I'm nowhere near up. I took Mostert, so I'm good. We're going to stay on the main event board here. We're going to stay on the main event board. Alit 14 is up. He's got something at every position. Connor says there's a bunch of teams in here that look like best ball squads. I wonder if the content is bleeding into manage. I think it probably is, man. And they're definitely different. I mean, they're different animals. I mean, as you would know. I mean, they're vastly different animals. I got to get into the right draft room here. Okay. So, I'm struggling, guys, because, I just feel like I feel like I can wait on tight end here. I just do. And I'm going to take a big swing. I want to have the best team in the playoffs. I do. And I think I can just drop the hammer here. I'm just going to drop the hammer with Rashad White. I mean, that is an unfair advantage for this squad. After the 5 wide receivers that I put together here to stack up this run of running backs after Lamar Jackson to pair with CMC. I mean, this team might be good enough without CMC at the end of the year. God forbid that would happen again. So now, I mean, I am just going to be drafting rounds 12 through 20 with the utmost of confidence. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this one. We'll leave it on this window for a second. Let's have some conversation. It could be about this draft in general, one of the other squads. It could be my squad. And then we'll flip back over, to the main event. Because I'm going to be up at 13:09 here in probably 2 minutes. Back to Connor's comment, though, about there being a bunch of teams that look like best ball squads. I think, people are drafting in such volume that the muscle memory, starts to get there too. You just become so accustomed to taking players in certain ranges that you're not remembering that this is a managed format. You're going to have to make start sit decisions. It's very difficult. It's just a different animal. Famous Jay, for the past few drafts, I've been sniped so many times. I've learned when to pivot when your plan doesn't go as expected, missing on a playoff stack. Yeah. Listen, I'm not overthinking the playoff stacks, man. I mean, 15, 16 weeks from now, we actually, we're not going to be 100% on what the best offenses in the NFL are. I mean, we think we know what they will be, but injuries could change that. Defenses could change that. Weather games could change that. You can only predict so much, man. So I'm going to be on the clock here in the main event. Let's get over to that draft. I'm set at every position here now. And so I don't think I'm going to go back to running back here. The values are no longer there. I'm going to look at tight end behind Pitts. Maybe there's a value. I don't think that there is. Is there a wide receiver that's jumping out? There's not. I had talked about maybe in 13 or 14 coming back for another quarterback. And what I think I like here is covering the bases here with Captain Kirk Cousins, because I'm going to have, in the weeks when I start Rodgers, I've got Lazard there. In the weeks when I start Cousins, I've got Thielen there. I'm just going to go that direction after waiting on the position. I think I can stream those two and have a Frankenstein mid QB1 for sure. There really was not a value. I was in between tiers. The player that I would have liked to have taken most there, even above Cousins, would have been Justin Fields. That presents a bye week issue, with Aaron Rodgers. So I just can't go that position. Definitely not going to draft 3 quarterbacks. I mean, some people might argue that why are you worried about a bye week 14 weeks from now? But again, I just don't want to really use ever, waiver money on that position. And with week 14 being so critical, in these leagues. I mean, I don't want to go in not knowing who my QB is going to be that week. I feel I'm a lot better about just rolling Kirk Cousins out there a couple of months from now. So we're going to be back up in this one again. Oh man, FX boys doubles up on the defenses there with Buffalo and Indy. He's swinging big. Swinging big. Dave Gladstone says, when you decide to retire from your fantasy gig, I see a real future in juggling for a person with your skill set. I can only juggle 3 balls, and I think I could juggle 3 drafts as well. I can't actually juggle very well. I do juggle a lot in my day-to-day, in addition to being part of the team here, running things at RotoViz, an executive in the corporate world. So, always kind of juggling a lot of different tasks there. Connor says, love having an anchor squad that can fall back to a ZRB1-2. Just give yourself multiple paths to win. That's what it's been about, with both of these squads. When I compare the main event squad here to the FPC one that we built, I like my wide receivers, and quarterback better. And the FPC build, which is, let's flip back over to that board, which is this one, CMC with Lamar Jackson. And then I think, a slightly more elite swath of wide receivers in rounds 2 through 6, whereas I waited and did rounds 3 through 8 on this squad, but I did get Kyle Pitts with the elite tight end there. So it's different, but I feel like either one of these squads, I could see them still performing in the playoffs if I lost my first round running back. And I think that's, really the point that Connor is making is like, yes, they are hero RB squads, anchor RB squads, but they're constructed in such a way that I'm elite at the other positions and can survive the injury, because we can't predict those, and they're going to happen. Across my portfolio, I'm going to have a team that's going to suffer, an unfortunate injury. It's just going to happen. It always does. I'm going to be back up in this main event and a couple picks. So I need to get back in there. I was tiered out, in round 13. That is why I took Kirk Cousins there. Let's just check and make sure I'm not going to be up in both drafts. I'm not. This FPC is crawling compared to the main. So at running back, we've got Benjamin, Jerick McKinnon, kind of that ilk of player. I'm not going back that position right now. I just don't see the value. Let's see if any of our targets at wide receiver are sliding. I'm going to be up next. I like KJ Osborne. He was featured in, he was my player I mentioned in my Guy Behind the Guy article that Neil Dutton puts together for us every year. I think that Minnesota is going to pass more often. And that would give me an option to still start with Kirk Cousins rather than Adam Thielen, where Thielen to get hurt, or, maybe if I just wanted to go real big, if I was, far behind and needed to play, I guess with the high variance outcome. Christian Watson looks like he's on track for week 1 now. That would be interesting in case, I want to hedge my Lazard pick. So I am considering that. And then tight end behind Pitts. That is where I'm kind of interested here. But I think I can wait. I think I can wait just a little bit longer. Just thinking about this team really hitting, I think somebody's going to emerge in Green Bay. I'm going to take Christian Watson here. I know he hasn't been available in August, but in the event that I'm wrong on my massive Allen Lazard exposure this year, because it could happen. I'm not right 100% of the time. Feel pretty confident about Lazard, but the opportunity cost here of drafting Watson versus other players is not great. So I'm going to take him there. It feels like a free square, and I've protected this team, and I've given myself multiple paths to win through the Packers offense. And I did it, with wide receiver 68 in the 14th round. Feels pretty good. We'll flip back over to the FPC. It's marching back towards my pick in the 12th round. All right. This is fun. It is kind of fun being in the turn in both of these drafts, or at least near the turn in both of these drafts, because I can kind of focus and get back into the other side of my brain that I need to be into. I've been having some fun. So I hope you're enjoying this live stream. I'm going to go back to the Blantons here. It is a good day, and man, that is a good pour. All right. Jacoby Myers, that's where we're at in the draft. We're in the Jacoby Myers portion of the draft here in this FPC. Gosh, this team is pretty. I do need to get some tight ends. I've got to get some tight ends. I'm going to go Ooh, I'm going to take the guy that I was thinking about in the other one right here. I don't think he's not going to get his name called. I feel very confident about that. But I can't say his name just in case somebody else is thinking that they're wanting to double up on their guy, because I've waited. Obviously, I'm going to take tight end 19 or 20 probably by the time it gets to me. While we're waiting, Dave Gladstone says Lazard is nicked up at the moment. Yeah, he's been absent last week and a half. Oh boy, Bird Gang takes Gerald Everett. That's who I was thinking about. I didn't even say his name. That is not fun. So it is what it is. Okay, let's go back over to that draft room and find our players. Okay. We'll get back to the Lazard comment here in a minute. Okay, so I've got some other tight end options here. I think I could still double tap. I might double tap at this turn, actually. And I'm probably going to draft 3 tight ends here, honestly, and see who I can get that would emerge. Looking at this FPC draft too, I wouldn't mind getting a 6 wide receiver here at the turn if the value has really presented itself. There are a couple guys that I think make sense in a 1-week scenario that I could see myself drafting for sure. So we'll get to them in a moment. Running back, I'm 5 backs deep. There are 2 backs that I like here, but I just don't think it's necessary on this squad. I think the tight ends are really where I need to focus my energy. Raheem Mostert goes, who I have on my other squad. So I've got Lamar Jackson here. Isaiah Likely, man, what would he do? What would he do if Mark Andrews got hurt? What would his stats look like? What could his stats look like even with healthy Mark Andrews? I've got Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman on this squad. Looking at the tight end position, I think I'm going to swing for the upside here with this pick. It's like 2 rounds early, but I think it just makes sense for this team. And then I'm going to come back with a couple cheaper volume guys that I think could potentially maybe start for me earlier in the year until I know exactly what Likely's role is going to look like. One of these guys in my queue at tight end is the player that I think is 2022 Dalton Schultz. That's what I think this guy is. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and take him now. I am. He's got 270 reception seasons under his belt already. He's a multi-time Pro Bowler. He was just misused in Cleveland. I'm just going to go ahead and take Austin Hooper here and attack the position with 2 tight ends there. I've got to flip back, though, guys. I got to flip back. I'm up next in the main event. The drafts got stacked up again, but we're a couple rounds deeper in the main event. I've got my quarterbacks here. I do not have a tight end 2 yet in this one. And in this one, you can see that Austin Hooper ended up going in the 14th round of that one. So it makes me pretty happy that I took him in the 13th. I don't think he would have got back to me in round 14 in the other draft. So I was correct in pulling the trigger there. Isaiah Likely also came off the board in this one in round 15. I don't mind being early. I mean, ADP's out the window. I got teams that I really like here, and they're telling a story. I'm weaving a web. All right, so 109. I'm 7 wide receivers deep, 4 running backs deep. I've got Kyle Pitts. I've got Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. So I wouldn't mind getting a little bit of additional upside at tight end behind Pitts, but we're just going to scroll through the positions here. We're just going to see what's available. Nothing jumping out at me at wide receiver here. I wouldn't mind another back. There's a couple guys. There's kind of an emergency player from Sean Siegel's list, and he's a player that I have a lot of in Underdog. I think I can get that's actually tricky. I think I can get him in round 16. And I'm going to go tight end because tight end has been getting cleared out a little bit versus where I would have liked to have seen it. And I can take a free swing here. This player is not having the preseason that you would want. But if Drew Lock gets installed in Seattle, I think the arrow would be back up. I'm going to take Noah Fant. I might not ever need Noah Fant with Kyle Pitts, but if Fant were to establish himself as the number 2 behind DK Metcalf in that new it's not really not new. In the, I guess the new player look on the tight funnel, target funnel in Seattle, if Fant were to be, maybe like the Jimmy Graham type of target share from, Russell Wilson seasons a couple years ago, that could be pretty interesting. And he would even be flex worthy in that regard. I do have a running back that I want to take in round 16 that is a big time auto start anytime he gets the start, kind of like Raheem must start on this team. It's actually the perfect type of RB5 for this squad. Just got to make sure that we're not getting behind here in our FPC. We're not. We're way far away. Fantasy Hawk, Dave. Love it. Dave wanted me to take Mo Alley. I can't. I just can't do it. Not when I've got a freak athlete in an uncertain passing room. All the Patriots receivers are still available. Should I replace Tolbert for any of them? I think at this point, Jacoby Myers is a low ceiling, high floor guy. That would make some sense. But let's just see what Tolbert looks like in week 1 with Dak Prescott first. All of the buzz from the beats on Tolbert is around, the first string reps that Tolbert was getting with Prescott, and he didn't get any snaps with Dak in the preseason, obviously. So I'm willing to give Tolbert a week, man, because if he could cement himself, that'd be pretty exciting there versus what I think will be a pass second offense in New England, in a fairly widely distributed market as well. And I just don't think that Myers has the type of like true target volume hog upside that we've seen from other slot guys there in the past, like, Welker and Edelman and players of that nature. So to Tolbert, good question there. And Colin must be watching. He says, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give the thumbs up. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate it, man. Watching from across the pond, helping me out. Colin's our executive producer of our podcast channel, RotoViz Radio, and is also helping us build our empire here on YouTube. So I appreciate his help. All the awesome thumbnails you see. All the awesome thumbnails that you see on our YouTube are from Colin Kelly. Okay, so we're going to be up next. My player is still in the queue. FX boys, though, he loves those running backs. Could be in trouble here. Let's see what happens. He's not going to do it. I'm going to put it on the universe right now. He's not going to do it. This main event team has incredible upside. I'm very excited about it. I mean, I'd be happy with this team even if I wasn't drafting it at the same time as an FPC. If this draft had my full focus, I think it would pretty much look the same as this. 6 seconds. FX, you got to make a pick, man. What are you doing? Who do you take? Okay, he steered clear of my queue. That's good. Man, I'm taking Jeff Wilson. I'm pumped about 16th round Jeff Wilson in the main event. I love it, man. I love it. Our Game Splits app has really helped me see the truth on him. Man, if he gets 10 carries, he averages 15 PPR over the past couple of seasons. Anytime, he gets featured, he comes with the production. And Elijah Mitchell, as exciting as he has looked in San Francisco, he hasn't been the picture of health. Rooting for him, it'd be great to see him break out and really cement himself as kind of that next, low pedigree guy in the Shanahan lore. But if Jeff Wilson goes into any week as a presumed RB1, he'll be starting on this squad along with Saquon. Love it. Absolutely love it. We're going to need to flip back over to our FPC draft. It's marching right along. This is the one where we waited on tight end, team. We took Isaiah Likely and Austin Hooper, kind of two different types of players. The idea of Hooper in the 13th round here was that the Titans have not gotten anything beyond Robert Woods yet that looks certain. And even Woods is coming off of the injury. I think Hooper could lead the team in targets in September. I really do. And he could also lead this team in receiving touchdowns, to be honest. Neither one would surprise me. This is the best tight end that Tannehill has had at his disposal in several years. Isaiah Likely in the 12th here. So I go with the end of the year play and the beginning of the year play at tight end. So I'm covered up here. I've just got total freedom to chase whatever I want to chase. I'm up next Landry was in my queue. He was the player that was in my queue. I'm looking probably for some wide receiver. I want some upside swings here. There's a rookie that I like here. There's the wide receiver 3 in Denver that I kind of like here. So let's see what happens. This draft is going so much slower. We're like a full 2 rounds behind. And we started at the same time. Come on, guys. I don't know if I'm going to cover up Lamar quite this early. He's more of an auto start versus, the other draft. I did take Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. I probably will cover him up at some point. Not in the 14th here. I think I want to take one of these wide receivers first. So I'm on the clock. The 2 players that I'm really looking at here are Wan'Dale Robinson and KJ Hamler. Now, the thought here, Wan'Dale could actually end up leading that team in receiving potentially and, some of the gadget type usage. And then KJ Hamler, he's kind of that start where all you really need is the long touchdown from him, with Russell Wilson. But with Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton both looking healthy, I think I'm going to take the swing on Wan'Dale Robinson instead. So let's get a little bit of rookie infusion with the established veterans. Oh, I got some company. What's up, buddy? Oh, you're trying to get water? Okay. Hey, guys, I got to go on mute just a second here. Okay, little guy's having trouble getting something to drink. It is what it is. It happens. Okay, so I got 45 seconds. We took Wan'Dale Robinson at the 14:11. We're back on the clock at the 15:02. And, tight end going back to that position makes some sense. Robert Tonyan is healthy in Green Bay. That's an unsettled situation. And, I'm trying to attack some different situations here and find that tight end that could really unlock the ceiling of the team. I'm going to go that direction. He's practicing now. I don't know if he's going to play in week 1, and this could be a wasted pick. It could. But if it doesn't end up being a wasted pick, we know what Tonyan did a couple of seasons ago, and he was a tight end premium hero. So now I can kind of stop stressing about this position and focus on really getting some of those upside sleeper plays. Sweet team from the 2. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it, man. And you know what unlocked it? What unlocked all of it is attacking wide receiver early and often after CMC, because it gave me the ability to go after, these presumed volume guys at running back. I mean, listen, Damian Harris and Melvin Gordon, those guys are going to get real volume. Like, they're startable in week 1, and they could, either one of them could be fantasy RB1s in any given week, and no one will, bat an eye. But with Kenneth Walker and Rachaad White, you have 2 opportunities to potentially hit on a late season, playoff hammer at the position. You've got the stack with Lamar and Rashad Bateman. It's great. Yeah, I agree. Thanks for the feedback, man. We got to head back over to our other draft, though. This is crazy, man. This is a crazy experiment. So I'm up next in the 17th round. We took Jeff Wilson in the 16th. Connor says he's been taking Jeff Wilson in the 20th all year. I'm not waiting until the 20th for my guy. I'm going to be on the clock. I don't need running back. I don't need anything. So I'm just going to look through the different positions here. Paris Campbell is of a little bit of interest to this team. I did wait a little later to attack that position, but I'm actually going to go with a rookie. I'm going to get some rookie wide receiver infusion. This year's potential playoff Amon-Ra St. Brown after Deshaun Watson returns from suspension. David Bell, come on down. David Bell, Christian Watson. I've got a couple rookie wide receivers here to add to the six pack that I had in rounds 3 through 8 of Waddle, Davis, Smith-Schuster, Thielen, Lazard, and Ayuk. Feeling really good about this wide receiver stable, though I waited until round 3 to take a wide receiver, which I almost never do. Yeah, almost never do. Let's see where we're at in these 2 drafts. I think I'm going to end up potentially. Okay, we're past the turn in the FPC, so we can stay focused on the main. Okay, so we got 3 picks left. Probably going to take a kicker and a defense there. So just one position player left that I can grab. Let's see what we want to do, team. if there is a late running back that makes sense for this squad, if there is a value tight end that makes sense for this squad, I don't think there's a tight end that really, sticks out to me. Mo Alley Cox is at the top of the draft applet there. Tyler Conklin might get into some volume. The wide receiver position we've got covered. So at running back, we are 5 deep on this squad. Doesn't hurt to be 6 deep. There's two players that come to mind actually here that might make sense to add at that position. I'm not going to go 3 QBs here, obviously. So really it's down to running back versus potentially taking, 2 defenses or 2 kickers. Dave and I took 2 defenses in our main event draft last week, getting the LA Chargers and Cleveland Browns together with the idea of starting Cleveland in weeks 1 and 2. And then you can start LAC so many weeks in a row. Sonny Michel goes off the board. That was one of the backs I was considering here in this spot. You got to think about all the things that can happen. Austin Eckler had all those short touchdowns in 2021. Bringing a player like Michel, who, he kind of is the banger between the tackles there, things could look different. I don't think they should look different. Eckler's awesome in the scoring area of the field, but it doesn't mean the team will continue to use him that way. Gladstone says maybe Cobb if Lazard is out for the start of the season. Nah, I just don't think that's necessary, man. Because I drafted all those other wide receivers. I've got Jalen Waddle, Gabe Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, Adam Thielen. Lazard was my wide receiver 5. He may not have needed to see the lineup in week 1 anyway. I had the luxury of waiting to see what his role will be because of the strength of the position on this squad. So I'm not going to go Randall Cobb here. I think that would, I would rather take a swing on a player that, could shift the tide on this squad. And that player exists. He's in my queue. I got 1 player in it. FX Boy has not touched my queue yet in this draft. So we got to stay there. He takes Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell was a player I was interested in this team, but I took David Bell instead. I'm going to go with Darrell Williams. Now, Eno Benjamin is the preferred target in that backfield, just from, I guess a profile perspective and, actually having a great receiving production history in college. And he's kind of worked his way up through the ranks in Arizona there. But Darrell Williams, he already has some pretty awesome fantasy scoring track record in the NFL. And if they did want to have one kind of more bell cow type player like James Conner, if Conner were to miss time, Williams is much more that player than Eno. I think Eno could carve out a role as a change of pace that would expand. But if they kept a bell cow, it would be Darrell. So I'm going to take Darrell and get a back from that Arizona offense. We've had multiple seasons now. Kenyon Drake, James Conner, both fantasy shockers. So, I like that swing. We've got Saquon, Damian Harris, and Melvin Gordon with the defined roles. And then we've got 3 swings at running back that we could start in any week where we knew, the guy ahead of him was out, with Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and Darrell Williams, all in dynamic offenses with dynamic rushing attacks. Really liking how that came together. So let's flip back over. We're marching back towards our FPC in the 16th round. Guys, we're on the home stretch. We are in the home stretch. Thanks for hanging out. It's going to be fun to see where these squads end up here. And you've been hanging with me this entire time. Dave Gladstone, well, we'll get back to that in a second because I'm going to be up next. He wants to talk about that main event squad. But let's stay focused on the FPC. This is the task at hand. I'm on the clock. Matt Ryan goes. I talked about doubling up behind Lamar. Nobody is really jumping out as a quarterback that makes sense to invest in here. So I'm going to thumb through my other positions first. We already went with 3 tight ends. I'm not going to attack that position anymore. I wouldn't mind adding a 7th wide receiver. Paris Campbell, player I talked about on the other squad, but I think I'd rather go after my rookie target again here in the 17th round. Let's just check and make sure there's not a, okay, I kind of like this. Why don't we add Jerick McKinnon to this squad? Let's just target another 0 RB guy. I don't know that I'll ever need to go to the waiver wire on this squad. Jerick McKinnon, absolute NFL playoff fantasy hero and NFL playoff challenge hero on the FFPC. That's a fun game. I actually won a free main event entry in that event last year. Harrison Butker and OBJ go there. I just wanted a little bit of overlap with these teams. Let's put David Bell on this bad boy too. And round 17. Let's put David Bell on this one too. So in each of these drafts, you can see, I started with the entrenched veteran wide receivers at the top. I paid the premium for the guys with the projectable roles. But then as I got later into the drafts, I went for some upside swings with rookie wide receivers. In this FPC draft, I went with Wan'Dale Robinson and David Bell in rounds 14 and 17. But you go back over to that main event squad, and in rounds 14 and 17, I go Christian Watson and David Bell. And so what I'm really looking to do there is find one of those players that could emerge late in the season. I'm really in on David Bell across really all formats. He's actually my highest exposed player in underdog across hundreds of drafts there. I think I'm at 34% as of this morning. So I like having him on both of these squads, but, kind of spreading out the investment with Christian Watson and Wan'Dale on the 14th between the two. Let's get back over to the questions because I'm going to have a break here. I'm going to have about a 20-pick break here in the FPC. And we've got 6 or 7 picks in the main. We can wait. So, yeah, Dave was talking about the main here after that last pick of Darrell Williams. Any of those last 3 RBs could be league winners. Very nice work there. Yeah, that's what it's about, man. I mean, all 3 of those guys, Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Darrell Williams, they've all produced as high-end running back 2s with the proven ability to have spike weeks too. So in the event that, this is another team where, we were talking about on that FPC board, right? Let's flip back over to that. After McCaffrey, we waited and we waited and we waited. And this is a team that's good enough to still really make some noise, even if I lose McCaffrey. Now, obviously, we want McCaffrey, but I've got a collection of guys there that I can really patch it together if I need to. And the same thing is true here. If Saquon doesn't pan out, I took the big swing on him in the first round. But if he doesn't pan out, this team's going to be fine. I could still win my league and then get into the playoffs, and you just see what happens, right? So, okay. Well, what are you guys thinking? I got round 19 and round 20 in this main event. I need to get a kicker. I'd like to get a defense. What are you thinking here? I like to target those kickers from the elite offenses, obviously, and the guys with the big legs that can get those 50-plus yarders. So we'll load a few of them in the queue. And then we'd like a defense with an attractive week 1 matchup, or a defense that I could start, for many weeks. I'm going to be up next. Brandon McManus goes. He was in my queue. How did he know? I got to get back over to the correct draft room, though. Uh-oh, where'd my draft room go? There it is. It's buried. It's buried, guys. Okay. So I've got Ryan Suckup and Nick Folk. Those are really the 2 that I'm thinking about here. Suckup and Tampa Bay, they were so efficient at scoring touchdowns last year that he didn't really do quite as much damage as I would have thought. But that's actually where I'm going to go. I don't have any Tampa Bay offensive players on this team, which is rare for me. And so that is kind of a way just to get a little bit of exposure to that offense. And maybe with Brady being older, maybe with the changes at wide receiver and maybe Lenny's a little bit less efficient in the scoring area. And I get a chance to, maybe at some upside at the field goal piece there, the Tampa offense. And we're probably gonna finish that draft before we make another pick in the FPC. We'll just check in on that one real quick. Yeah, I've got a lot of time to wait before my 18th round there. So we're gonna need a defense here. Let's see what we're gonna do. I've got New England. They play Miami. I don't really like that. LAC I talked about as having, really dream matchups in week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it is. Do not have a table up. Just kind of going from memory here because we've drafted so many teams. but we got to see who can actually fall to us. That's what we're waiting on. All right, so Team 12 is going to have to take their defense. No point in getting my hopes up on a particular squad quite yet. Yeah. So when we start looking at this, I think the Carolina defense is kind of interesting. At home against the Jacoby Brissett led Cleveland Browns. I don't like starting teams against my Brownies if I don't have to, but that's the most interesting one for me. I think Cleveland is going to really struggle. That could also just be a brutal game where both teams turn the ball over a lot. And Cleveland, would have been a target for me, but they went a couple rounds ago. That would have been more fun. Let's just play the opposite side, and we'll go with Carolina. So that draft's done. Let's just make sure that we're not marching towards too close to our pick in the 18th round there. Okay, so we're done. We're done with this main event squad. What do you guys think? No Gronk could help the kicker, Dave says about the suck-up pick. Yeah, agree. That's another reason to like it. We're done. Running it down. Saquon Barkley, Kyle Pitts, Jalen Waddle, Gabe Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, Adam Thielen, Alan Lazard, Brandon Ayuk. We just rained wide receiver in round 3 through 8. Damian Harris, Melvin Gordon, Aaron Rodgers, Raheem Mostert, Kirk Cousins. We just slam it with players that we're going to be able to interchange those positions. We get the upside plays with Christian Watson and Noah Fant, Jeff Wilson, David Bell, Darrell Williams. That is really the money section of this draft. Any one of those guys, as Dave mentioned, could be, real playoff hammers for us there. And we finish it up with Ryan Suckup at the kicker position, buying into maybe the narrative that Tampa Bay won't be quite as good at scoring touchdowns this year. And then Carolina versus Cleveland in week 1. So that one's done. We got 3 more picks to make here in the FPC, and then we'll be complete. So let's see what we've got to do. We've got some work to do. We've got kicker, we've got defense, and this team could use a QB2. I wouldn't mind getting a QB2, but it's all going to depend on who's available. Honestly, I wouldn't mind taking. I just don't want to hold him all season, but the idea of stacking Deshaun Watson with Lamar Jackson, pretty attractive. I just don't know. I just don't know if I want to take one. I really don't like having to go to the waiver wire for a quarterback, though. I really just don't. I'm on the clock. So, Lamar Jackson's got his bye week in week 10. It's a long ways away. None of these guys are really standing out except for one. It's a player who in the past, in the games where they win, has done a lot with his legs, and maybe we'll do a little bit more with his legs because of what's going on with the receivers. I'll just take a little swing on Ryan Tannehill here. He'll be free to cut, and I can replace him later on if I need to. So at the 1902, we'll take our first, either our kicker or our defense. At kicker, I had talked about Brandon McManus being on my board in the other draft. And, at defense, I talked about liking LAC. I've got Philadelphia here available in this one. And I think I'm going to go that direction with Philly. So we'll go Philly for this squad, and we'll wait and see what the universe gives us at the 2011, near the final pick of this draft. Let's go back to the chat and see what's going on here. We're coming to the tail end of these drafts. Man, thanks for hanging out. These drafts actually ultimately kind of flew. We're only an hour and 37 minutes into the stream, I think. Hour and 39 minutes into the stream. And we're already done with one draft, and we're finishing up the other. 2 pretty different teams from a player exposure perspective. The biggest notable differences are at tight end and quarterback between these 2 builds, just, based off of what I had access to. The big decision point in this one, this FPC draft from the 102, and what will really tell the tale for this is, am I going to get what I need at tight end from Isaiah Likely, Austin Hooper, and Robert Tonyan? Playing 3 different situations, 3 potential volume situations. If I can just get one of those to hit, this team becomes a potential just monster. And I passed on really Alberto, I guess, is like the only player that I really passed on that was going to be available to me that would have made sense. I could have taken him. Could have taken him where I took Kenneth Walker, forced the pick. I just don't think that Alberto is the type of player that's going to win the entire FPC for this squad. I just don't think that he can jump into that, even really into like that Dalton Schultz area. I just don't see it in Denver. I don't. And so I don't want my Kenneth Walker pick back. So, I salvaged what I could with what the board gave me, and I didn't force it. I tried to take who I thought was the best player in every round, and it worked out. And it all started, again, from a structural perspective with taking CMC in the first round and then reining the wide receivers. If we flip back over to that main event team, very similar story, except that I went earlier on tight end instead of quarterback like I did in the FPC because I had the opportunity to take Kyle Pitts. And so I attacked quarterback through volume rather than tight end on this squad with Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. Both guys, I think, are going to be locks for 300 plus fantasy points this year. I think there's reason to believe that Kirk Cousins is set up to really even take another step forward back to some of his previously pseudo elite fantasy production that we've seen from him. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, there's nothing better than a ticked off Aaron Rodgers, right? I think he just likes to thumb his nose at everybody. And so you take Devontae Adams away, he's probably going to make somebody else a superstar this year. And I played into the narrative with this squad. I took Alan Lazard and Christian Watson, 2 of the 3 guys that really figure to be in the running to take that step. Romeo Doubs being the other one, obviously. But it just didn't work out for this squad to take him. The decision point would have been Doubs versus Raheem Mostert on this squad in the 12th round. You can see there, it just didn't make sense for me to target Doubs there with the strength of 6 wide receivers in the preceding rounds when I only had 3 running backs. And so Mostert felt more vital to this team. Let's go back over. We're waiting on it to march back. I need to take a kicker, and then we're going to call it a day. So if you got any questions, if you've been on the whole stream, you've been waiting to have your question answered, you've got about 3 minutes, and then we're going to be bringing this thing to a close. So drop it in the chat. If you're watching this stream and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, or you don't follow at RotoViz on Twitter, or you don't follow me on Twitter at CPatrickNFL, take care of all those things right now. You can hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up on the episode. There's all kinds of other high stakes drafts that you'll find on the feed. Sean Siegel, one of the most prominent names in fantasy football from any site, godfather of Zero RB, grand poobah of RotoViz these days. You can see me, you can see Dave Caban, you can see Colm Kelly, Blair Andrews, Hassan Raheem's been drafting teams with Blair. It's just really fire content across the YouTube. If you're finishing up your best ball teams, I think we've got Zach Kruger and Colm Kelly on our weekly best ball content. There's just so much to watch. And so we've had fun building out the YouTube product this summer. And we tip our caps to Colm Kelly for helping us to do that. And of course, to all of you for watching. Brandon McManus is still there. That's who I wanted in like the 18th round in the main. We'll see if I can get him at 2011 in this one. I'm going to have to find a couple other guys, playing into the idea of teams that could score a lot, kickers with the bigger legs, and then domes. You like to see domes, lots of kickers that don't have to deal with the elements. So McManus, I think Denver taking a step forward with all the scoring, and you get the mile high advantage. And then I'm going to load 3 other kickers in the queue there. Younghoe Koo in Atlanta, Greg Joseph in Minnesota, and Will Lutz in New Orleans. I'm going to get one of those 4 guys. It's going to happen. Too many other teams already have kickers. So if I have a lean, if McManus goes, I'll probably lean to Koo or Lutz. And if you get yourself in this situation, one of the reasons to consider that is they both have week 14 buys. And so if you hit on one of these kickers with a late buy, you don't have to worry about concentrating your fab to that position earlier in the season. Yeah, Dave says you should be good. All others have their kicker. Yeah, if you double up on kicker, that is just like that's the double condom play of the year if you double up on kicker in one of these big events. Let's hit the Blantons one more time. It's been a while. I will put the final boards for both of these squads out on Twitter. Let me know what you think in writing. Or maybe you didn't want to go on the record with your question on YouTube. You were embarrassed to type your question or didn't want me to read it. Just hit me up on Twitter. I'll answer your question there. Sony Michel goes. Again, we talked about Sony Michel in the other draft. And listen, Sony doesn't excite me, and it will be really annoying, but I need everyone to be ready for the potential reality that Sony vultures 6 to 8 touchdowns from Austin Eckler this year. I mean, that team had nothing at RB2. And, I was the one that put everybody from a volume perspective on Josh Kelly a couple years ago, his rookie season. And that actually happened. We didn't know if he'd be any good. And, it just turns out that, he doesn't seem to really be a difference maker and hasn't really asserted himself in that RB2 role. It'll be interesting now that Isaiah Spiller's back. I did see that he practiced yesterday or it might have been this morning. So it'll be nice to have him back in the fold, but I think he's pretty far behind on the offensive install at this point. So we'll just have to see what happens there. I'm up next. Dave, you were right. Nobody else took their kicker. So I've got my pick here. Let's see what I've got. Let's see what I've got going here. I want to go with something fun. I'm going to take Koo. And the idea there is that Atlanta can move the ball, but not steal the deal. And he's got a week 14 bye. So we'll find out. I may even correct that before the end of week 1. We'll see what goes on here. Thanks for sticking around. You guys are the best. Joe King says, great draft, and that's with Blantons. Hey, man, I was just sipping it, man. You never hit it too hard. And Blantons, you got to sip. I mean, you don't want to waste it. I didn't even get through one drink in 2 hours. I was too busy talking. Peace. Thanks, Dave. Stuck around the whole show. You guys are the best. I'm going to hit the outro. Thanks for sticking around. I will be back actually Wednesday night. If you enjoyed this and you want to hear me cut it up with somebody else, Wednesday night, Ryan McDowell of Dynasty League Football, my former podcast partner, one of my best friends in the industry. We're going to put our swing together, a co-owned swing in the main event on Wednesday. We will live stream that at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look for the invite and the link on Twitter. Peace.
What's up, RotoViz?